Marianne DeNovellis here with the Six-Figure Mastermind, and today we're going to talk about how to open up those pages and actually get your book from your heart to the page. Hey everyone, it's Marianne DeNovellis, and today we're discussing how to finally write your book. Man, a lot of people have this book idea in their minds for a long time. Just go ahead and ask your friends. Make a post on Facebook. Ask them if they've ever wanted to write a book, and then ask them this: how long have they been wanting to write that book? You know, a book takes maybe a day or two if you're really fast, or a week to read, but writing it, gosh, you got blood, sweat, tears, and years going into that thing, and it still may not come out the way you want it to. So that's why we're here. The question is, how do we get our book out of our mind and onto the shelf? First things first, you're going to need to take it one step at a time. What do we mean by one step at a time? A book can be really, really daunting. It feels like so much. And just imagine holding that book in your hands. You can feel the weight of it. And it can be easy to get overwhelmed with your book. Now, maybe you're a life coach. Maybe you have another industry that you're in. Maybe you have a product or a service that you offer. Or maybe you're none of those things, but you know you have a story to tell. Think about this. A book is nothing but a series of chapters put together in one place. A chapter is nothing but a series of paragraphs stacked in a certain order. A paragraph is nothing but a series of sentences that have been a revolution of ideas, all put in a series together. Sentences are nothing but words. And if you're like me, you know this, saying that my dad told me, words mean things. There is meaning in everything that you have to say and meaning in everything that you have to offer. Now, how do we get through the overwhelm of writing a book? That big daunting thing, that big challenge, that thing that's been on your mind for 5, 10 years, or maybe even decades upon decades. If you're watching this, you've got one inside of you, and I can promise that it's probably more than one single volume, because once you write a book, it's kind of an addictive process. You'll want to write another and another and another, and I promise you it just gets easier. But first things first, we gotta get it out and down on paper. So let's start talking about step by step. You heard the idea that it's not good to eat an elephant in one bite, and that's exactly what we need. First, we need to start with a simple outline. What do you want your book to be about? What do you want to share with the world, and why do you want to share it? Your what and your why are going to be the biggest keys in getting your book out of your mouth and onto the paper. Now, the first thing you need to do is this. Take a look at all of your Facebook posts. Take a look, if you have a blog, at all of your blog posts. Take a look at any Facebook Lives that you've recorded. Take a look at your history in groups, maybe even your journal. Where have you been sharing your thoughts, your ideas, and your concepts before it got into a natural hardbound book? I'm going to encourage you to take all of those things. Go through your history, take some time, and look through what you've already said and shared to the world, because you may find that your book is already written. You just need to put it together all in one place. Take those segments, take those pieces. Anytime anyone has ever said you should write a book, ask them why, and have a conversation and put it all together in one place. Yeah, you can go through and organize it and put your outline together later, but right now it's time to just gather all of your information into one central location. Once you've done that, you can then go start and putting them in either chronological order or what I call impact order. Impact order means I may not tell my story from the beginning birthday start point of my life to this day, everything in timeline order. I may tell this part of my story before I tell the one that actually happened earlier. Impact order means I'm going to share my story in a way that is most impactful. Keeping with my integrity, keeping with my everything that is in order in my life, I'm going to share the story in what makes the biggest impact. How does that work? You're going to read your story out loud over and over and over to yourself. You're going to share the lessons that you learned. You're going to share, maybe it's a novel that you're writing. You're going to share how the person in the story evolved and grew over time. Maybe it's not a novel. Maybe it's just an informational book or a textbook or a guidebook. Maybe your book is 1,000 pages. Maybe it's 100 pages. That's not what we get to decide. You don't need to create a book by the page number. You need to make sure that all your ideas get included, A to Z, start to finish. The second part of writing a book is you've got to know who your book is for. If you think that your book is for everyone, I'm going to tell you this, you're just fooling yourself. Your book isn't for everyone. If that were true, then every book on the planet would be on everyone's bookshelves in the entire world. Your book is for a specific set of people. I call it your target audience. Your book is specifically designed to share with a specific person what they're going through and what you're going through so that your stories can mesh together. Think of your book not as a textbook or even a novel. Think of it as a coloring book. When I say coloring books, and those are a really super big thing right now, they've got all of the fancy ones with all of the intricate swirls and designs and patterns. Your book should behave like a coloring book, and this is what I mean by that. As the author, you are the one that gets to draw the patterns. You get to create the outlines. You get to put in place all of the story and the lines and the details that bring your book to life. Now, when your book gets into the hands of the person that it's meant for, they're going to break out their markers, crayons, colored pencils, or glitter gel pens and fill in all the spaces with their story so that your outline with all of your thoughts, ideas, and creations comes together with their story, their experiences, and their perceptions to create this beautiful synergy of a fully colored and illustrated coloring book. Now, when I say coloring book, you could take me literally and create one of those, but I'm talking about being an author. Your story gets to share all of the outlines, all of the details, and then they're going to fill in their life story when it comes together with your book. Whether it be a novel, whether it be an instructional book, or whether it be just a handbook, your ideal client needs to know that it was meant for them. So speak to them when you're writing. Ask them questions. Create thought-provoking scenarios that will help your client know exactly that your book is meant for them. Now, the question is, how do we know who our ideal client is? Now, if you work with me for long enough, you're going to know that I have a whole spreadsheet with thought-provoking questions that takes a few days to fill out. But here's what I'm going to give you a key for. If you're ever wondering who your ideal client was, take a look in the mirror 5 years ago. I'm serious. Go back and look inside your old family albums. Go back and look inside your old pictures. Go to your history on Facebook and look at yourself. Look at yourself a year ago. Look at yourself 5 years ago. Look at yourself and say, what was I going through at that point in time? What was some of my struggles? What were the words that kept going on in my head? And when you're writing your book, as you're compiling your blog posts, as you're compiling your Facebook posts and bringing it all together in one spot, remember that you're writing to that client who may just be a version of you. The last thing you need to do when you're writing a book is to not do it alone. Don't for one moment think that you ever have to write your book alone. Look in any good book on any shelf, any New York Times bestseller. You look at the top books out there. You look at the Harry Potter series. You look at Love It or Hate It, the Twilight series. Everything that has a novel and a name to it, it's going to have an acknowledgement section. Now, yeah, you get to include that in your book, but that aside, why is it there? It's because no author, no matter how great they are at writing, ever did it alone. You're going to need a team to bring it together. You're going to need a support system to bring your book from your mind to your hand. That means you're going to need an editor. That means you're going to need someone to bounce ideas off of. Maybe you even need a ghostwriter because you know as much as you love to write, it's not your best skill. A ghostwriter can create your story for you by just doing a series of simple interviews. You're going to need a team to bring it together. When I wrote my best-selling book, Limitless, I actually created my book within 90 days with less than 24 hours worth of work. When I committed to this book, I knew that it was going to be a huge undertaking, and I didn't know if it was possible. And when I wrote my book within 90 days with less than 24 hours worth of work, I can promise you that it amazed me at first. And I'm sure it was shocking to everyone who's listening to that you wrote your book with less than 24 hours. How did you possibly do that? I had a team. I had a team that got behind me that said, not only can we share with you how to write your book, not only will we interview you and then write your book for you, we're going to send it to you so that you can check it off, make sure it's totally the way you want it. And there was a lot of back and forth between my editor and my writing. I went to my photographer, had my photography done for my cover. I worked with a writer, with a publisher who completed my book for me and got 250 copies in my hand. If you've ever wanted to write a book and be a #1 bestseller and your idea is revolutionary. Maybe it's an idea where you've traveled from one place of rough patches in your world to a place of absolute mastery. Get with me, leave a comment below because I've got an amazing system that'll walk you through that entire thing and leave you as a best-selling author at the end. #1 best-selling author, always best-selling author. Once you claim that best-selling author status, you're always a best-selling author, which means once you catch the book bug like I have, from now on, you get to write from #1 best-selling author on every single one of your books as you continue to tell your story. Now, grab your team, grab your ideas, grab your story, grab your history, find your ideal client, and get your book out to the world because I gotta tell you something. The graveyard is the richest place on the world. When I say that, here's what I mean. It's full of people who never wrote their books. It's full of people who never composed their music. It's full of people who never shared their story. Some people will leave this world too afraid to do anything about it. Don't be one of those people. Be the one audacious enough to share your story, to get your message out there, and to bless lives all over the planet. So now your homework assignment is to get started on your book. Before you leave, here's what I want you to do. Leave a comment below with the title of the book that you're writing. Hit the subscribe button, give us a ring, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.